Assalamualaikum, my name is Sanjay. Today I came back with another video. This is very crucial video for all of you. Before start to my video, I would like to ask you how are you all. I hope you always fine and doing great in your life. So let's jump into my topic. Today we discuss about what kind of mistake we do in our interview. So I have seen so many people. They tell me that our interview was very good, but he didn't select me. Company didn't select me. So I'll discuss what kind of common mistake we make in our interview. This is the most important reason. If we overcome this mistake, so maybe you are the next candidate who's selected in an interview. So let's discuss. First, before entering the room, you must knock on the door and you have to ask the permission. You don't need to enter the room without his permission. After entering the room, you have to you don't need to go for shake his hand. You have to say hello and you have to keep smile. Most of the time people are very confused what is the meaning of smile and laugh. Smiling mean you have to say this is the smile, but most of the time people laugh on him. Hey, you don't need to show your teeth to our interviewer. You don't need to show your teeth over interview, so you have to keep smile on your face. And the third one mistake we do most of the time, you don't need to sit on the chair. You have to sit next to the chair, and your interviewer will tell you you sit on the chair. Then you have to say thank you sir. So after that, when he will tell you introduce yourself, you have to make eye contact. You have to make eye contact while introducing yourself. Most of the time people looking here and there, they will see the clock who are is behind. So you don't need to do that. You don't need to see the painting. Most of the time people see the painting of a room and that kinds of. You have to see your interviewer. You don't need to look here and there. So this is the most common mistake we do in our interview. So let's discuss some other. Most of the time they will ask you what kind of prospective. They will ask you about your last job. So you don't need to be negative with your last job. So you have to say like that, my past job is very perfect and very good. So you don't need to be negative. You have to say like that, I would like to look forward, so I would like to see another opportunity. So this is the main reason. And after that, he will ask you some common question to disturb you, to mathematical question. For example, he will ask you, 40 multiplied by 30 multiplied by 50 multiplied by 60, what is the answer? So you have to say the answer what is in your mind. You don't need to count, you don't need to take time. You have to say any number in come into your mind, because he's asking you just for the, he is checking your confidence. You have that kind of confidence, so you have to say answer any. You can say any number, 90, 30, 120. You have to say this is the answer. Then after that, most of the time people are very confused. They are afraid of interview. You don't need to. When they will ask you some questions, you don't need to stop. You have to speak about the question until he will change your question. So you don't need to afraid that kind of mistake. He is also human, you are also human. You have to think like that, he's a human. He has two ears and two eyes. You have the same. You don't need to think like that. Most of the time people are very confused what kind of question he's asking, what kind of topic he tell me you have to speak about. No, you don't need to do that. You have and the other thing, you have to search on the company, what kind of companies. You have to search on the Google. You can search, you can ask your friend, you can ask your family member. He is doing, if he is doing a job in this company, you can ask him. So you don't need to afraid. You have to be confident in during an interview. You don't need to laugh. You don't need to confuse. You have to keep smile throughout all the interview. You don't need to be the confused. Most of the time people are confused and they are thinking like, if I'll give, I don't know what kind of topic, what kind of things. You don't need to think like that. He's also human. He will ask you a very good question. You don't need to fear. Sometimes he will ask you general knowledge question. So in that kind of question, if he ask you what is your country president name, so if you know, you have to say but this is the number, this is the name. But if you don't know, you don't need to say any random answer. If you said sorry sir, I don't know about this. So that kind of question you have to prepare. You have to prepare before the interview. So most of the time if you don't know the answer, you can say sorry sir. But if he asks you general knowledge question, mathematical question, You can say, if you ask you about the math question, you can say any random number. You don't need to afraid like that. And you, most of the time, you have to search about your city. So you search about your city, your country, because he will ask you if you are living in a Faisalabad, then why we call it Faisalabad. He will ask you the Faisalabad history. So you have to remember, you have to prepare the history of behind this, what is the knowledge. So preparation is a very most powerful thing. You have to prepare your interview. You can stand in front of the mirror and you can practice your interview. So this is the very good thing. And these kinds of mistake, when you make these kinds of mistake at your home, then when you will go to the interview, when you will go to the room, that you are very look like a very confident man, do you look like very crazy, you don't need, you have to enjoy your interview. So this is the most of the time you don't need to think. Most of the time I have seen people are very afraid and they are think like that. And you don't need to consider like that. You don't need to suppose that I'm fail for what I can do, what this, you don't need, you have to tell that what is your goal, what is your short goal, what is your long term goal. So if you are ask you what is your dream, then you have to tell him, sir, I would like to go at the higher position. After this I'll start my own company. So you have to speak, you have to be very confident. You don't need to say that, you don't need to be very confused. If you don't know the answer, you have to say, sir, sorry sir, you can ask me next question. So these kinds of preparation is very important. So you don't need to think like that, for he will reject me, that kind of question. No, you have to be positive, you have to be very confident, because your confidence is very matter. So this is the most important topic. You have to control, you have to overcome your problem. So I hope you like my video. You have to subscribe my channel, you have to share with your friends. So I hope, thank you.